Alderman present, you have your quorum.
Okay, first item of business tonight is the approval of minutes from January 12, 2016 regular meeting minutes. Any comments from the board on those? Alderman Anderson?
Thank you. This is going by memory, but I think on page 3, on the request for approval of expanded community center hours, it indicates the Alderman Wallach cast a nay vote. I think that was Alderman Charbonneau, but maybe Alderman Wallach could confirm. I remembered it being Alderman Charbonneau. No. Was it you? Okay. Then the next is on page 7. The top of the page, the second line, Alderman Anderson stated the charter has provisions. I think so that the sentence kind of has some meaning, has provisions bearing on the question raised by Mr. Bell. And then at the bottom of 7, in the second to last paragraph, the 4 lines down, it begins survey, and then the next word is monkey. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's right.
Wow. Okay.
Go to the front page of our website.
Thank you. Okay. Stand corrected.
Anything else, Alderman?
No, sir.
We'll make the addition as noted, Your Honor.
Thank you. Okay, any other questions on these minutes? Seeing no further lights, do I have a motion and a second to approve?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Okay. Next item of business is public hearings. We have none. Next item is reports, presentations, communications, and appointments. This evening we have a presentation of donation to the Friends of Animals. Is there someone here that wishes to make that presentation?
My name is Megan Scott. I'm a teacher at Truman Middle School and also the sponsor of the Interact Club. And in November, these fine students behind me baked probably, 3,000-4,000 dog biscuits and sold them at the Lindbergh High School Craft Fair. And over the past 2 years, raised a total of $1,000 for the Crestwood Animal Shelter. So. Of this check, so sorry it's giant.
From the animal shelter.
Do you guys like, I want to air down that picture too?
Here, let's sit. Sure.
Sure, come on down there.
Mayor Ruby.
Here, why don't you get her and you squat a little so this doesn't look so, yeah, there you go. Right there.
1,000.
Thank you, guys. You're good.
Ready? The effort was worth it.
Was that the craft fair coming up to the high school?
Yeah, the Lindbergh Craft Fair in end of November. We'll be there next year.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Go students.
Wow.
Get a lot of fat cookies. All right. That's nice. So to show you how people get involved with the community, and I think that speaks volumes of Crestwood and its residents and of the schools that surround us. It's always nice to have that type of participation. Okay, next item on the agenda is public comment. Anyone wishing to speak on items that are not on the agenda may do so at this time. You will have opportunities during the regular board meeting to speak on specific ordinances before the board. If you would, please keep your comments to 3 minutes so that everyone has an opportunity to speak and we have an opportunity to get through all the items in a timely manner. Is there anyone on this side that would like to speak? Yes, ma'am. Please state your name and address for the record.
Yes, it's Martha Duchild, 9158 General Grant Lane. My first question is, who are the principals of Missouri Partners, Crestwood Missouri Partners LLC? I've been meaning to ask that and forgot. And so, is that any information that you can share?
I think we can share it, I don't know it off the top of my head, and we can,
If these, that we made a contract with them, so I assume that we know who they are.
and I'm sure you can go, I mean, you or we can go to the Missouri Secretary of State's and get that information also.
But you cannot provide it right now.
We know who the principal is. It's Mr.
For
Burke.
the partners.
That's correct. Mr. Burke is the gentleman we've been working with here. The corporation is an LLC that I believe was formed out of Pennsylvania, but I don't have the names handy here of all the partners. We can get that for you.
Okay.
Thank you.
My other question is actually for clarification on, you had met with a resident back in July, and during the conversation that you had informed him that Urban Street indicated that if they had to wait a year for the comprehensive plan for the city to be completed, that they would walk away from the project. Were those your words?
No,
It's
I don't
on
remember saying
tape. It's
it. I
on
don't
tape.
remember saying
But it's on tape, so
Okay, well,
you could listen to it again.
If it's on tape, then I said it. I don't
And
remember saying it.
was that something, the information that you got from them, or were you creating that for the
I've had a lot of
conversation?
conversations with them and other people, and I don't recall who said it. But if I said it, if I stated it, then I stated it.
But you don't know why you did, you don't have
I
any?
don't. No, I
Okay,
don't.
thank you.
Okay. Anyone else on this side? Yes, ma'am. Please state your name and address.
Good evening, my name is Sue Bramer, and I live at 1086 Etherton. And I'm part of the volunteers for Christmas in Crestwood. We just thought we'd give you guys a little update. We still haven't gotten all our thank yous out, but we have 20 businesses that have already signed on for 2016 to do trees, and we have 9 that have signed on to do gift basket projects, and 1 major sponsor. So we just wanted to share that with you tonight.
Thank
Some
you.
good and fun news.
Okay, anyone else on this side care to speak? See no other hands? Anyone on this side care to speak? Yes, sir. Please state your name and address for the record.
Sure. Mr. Mayor, thank you. My name's Al Heinerman. The business address is 196 Northwest Industrial Court in Bridgeton. I'm the municipal marketing manager for Progressive Waste Solutions here in town. We're a full-service solid waste company that provides services, in fact, to some of your neighbors in De Pere and Rock Hill, Orson Woods and Eureka, to name a few. I'm here tonight because I know the conversation or the topic of solid waste in Crestwood, specifically as it relates to getting bids for the services, has kind of been discussed. I'm here tonight to let you know that my company is very interested in providing the city with a bid for services. I hope this is a process that you enthusiastically support. You have nothing to lose by getting bids. I know it's been about 5 years since the city solicited bids for services, and our industry has changed quite a bit during that period of time. So I think companies can provide you and your residents with some good ideas and solutions to solid waste issues that you may have or you may not know you have. And I just wanted to introduce myself tonight and just tell you that we're very interested, and hopefully we'll be able to provide you with a bid when you decide to go for that, which I hope you do. And that was my reason for coming tonight.
Thank you so much.
I wish I had $1,000 check or some dog biscuits or something. Anyway, thank you very much for your
You
time.
bet. Anyone else on this side care to speak? I see no other hands. Okay. We will move on. The next item is zoning board report. Right, thank you. Next item is city administrator's report and associated bills.
Thank you, Mayor.
Mr. Simpson.
The first item is an ordinance amending section 2 of the code. This is, the code I guess, gives the mayor the authority to appoint a public relations liaison officer, which is sort of a resident liaison that would work with the staff on public relations matter. It hasn't been filled for some time. I don't know when there was one last, but it seems something unnecessary, so we brought this ordinance amending and eliminating this position.
Okay. Anyone in the audience have any questions regarding this issue? Either side? I see no hands. Okay. Any comments from the board? Alderman Maybe.
I think it's a prudent bill, and I applaud city staff and the city administrator for continuing to find the relics in our code that really have no purpose today. I think certainly public relations would be the job of all of us up here, the mayor, the city administrator, and the board. And we don't have much of a public relations budget anyway, so it's not like there's projects that we can talk about spending money on, so.
Anyone else on the board? Comments? Alderman Charbonneau is present. We are discussing currently the public relations liaison officer ordinance, removing that from our code. Do you have any questions on that?
I do not.
All right, sir. Okay. See no further lights. Do we have a motion and a second for a first reading, please?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Bill number, please.
1563.
15-63.
Correct.
Okay. Pass it down to Alderman, maybe go ahead.
This is bill number, pardon me, 1563, introduced by Alderman Maybe. An ordinance amending Chapter 2, Article 3 of the Municipal Code of the City of Crestwood, Missouri to repeal Section 2-63, providing for a public relations liaison officer.
Roll call, please.
Alderman Wallach,
Yes.
Alderman Charbonneau,
Yes.
Alderman Maybe,
Yes.
Alderman Minor,
Yes.
Alderman Breeding,
Yes.
Alderman Statter,
Yes.
Alderman Boston,
Yes.
Alderman Anderson.
Yes.
8 ayes, the motion is passed.
Okay. We have a motion and a second for a second reading.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Alderman Boston, would you do the honors?
Bill number 15-63, introduced by Alderman Maybe. An ordinance amending Chapter 2, Article 3 of the Municipal Code of the City of Crestwood, Missouri to repeal Section 2-63, providing for a public relations liaison officer.
Roll call, please.
Alderman Charbonneau,
Yes.
Alderman Minor,
Yes.
Alderman Boston,
Yes.
Alderman Breeding,
Yes.
Alderman Statter,
Yes.
Alderman Anderson,
Yes.
Alderman Wallach,
Yes.
Alderman Maybe.
Yes.
8 ayes, the motion is passed.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is an ordinance that amends Chapter 18 of the Municipal Code. This is going to add a new section that provides for annual vacation leave, but more importantly, a maximum accumulation of vacation time. The change here is specifically related to our unclassified employees, which consist of myself, the fire chief, the police chief, and the director of public services. It puts a cap on the number of hours of annual leave that they can accrue, and the cap is consistent with the cap that is in place for all of our classified employees. Previously, there was no cap, so it seemed appropriate to make things consistent. And just as a I guess an additional information point to any conflicts or anybody that's not currently in compliance with this cap has until the end of the first quarter to get into compliance.
Anyone in the audience have any questions regarding this policy? Either side? I see no hands. Any members of the board have any questions regarding this? Alderman Anderson.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Do I understand that if you wouldn't use your vacation 1 year, you could roll over a maximum of 160 hours to the next year?
That's correct.
And if you didn't use those 160 hours in the subsequent year, would those hours continue to roll over into the following year? If you didn't use any of that vacation time?
Under this policy, which is already in place for classified employees, but would be applied now to the unclassified employees, the maximum you could roll over is 160 hours.
Okay.
So if you didn't use them, you lose them.
Okay.
Any other questions from members of the board? I see no further lights. Alderman Wall?
Yeah, just for clarity, the maximum that you can have for hours is 160 though, is that correct? All right, thanks.
Okay, I see no other lights. Do we have a motion and a second for a first reading?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Bill number, please.
1564. Bill number 15-64, introduced by Alderman Minor, an ordinance amending Chapter 18, Article 1 of the Municipal Code of the City of Crestwood, Missouri, to add a new Section 18-16, providing for annual vacation leave and maximum accumulation of vacation time.
Roll call, please.
Alderman Maybe,
Yes.
Alderman Statter,
Yes.
Alderman Wallach,
Yes.
Alderman Anderson,
Yes.
Alderman Boston,
Yes.
Alderman Charbonneau,
Yes.
Alderman Greedy,
Yes.
Alderman Minor. Yes. 8 ayes, the motion is passed.
We have a motion and a second for a second reading, please.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Alderman Anderson, did you do the honors?
Thank you, sir. Bill number 15-64, introduced by Alderman Minor, an ordinance amending Chapter 18, Article 1 of the Municipal Code of the City of Crestwood, Missouri, to add a new Section 18-16, providing for annual vacation leave and maximum accumulation of vacation time.
Roll call, please.
Alderman Anderson,
Yes.
Alderman Maybe,
Yes.
Alderman Charbonneau,
Yes.
Alderman Greedy,
Yes.
Alderman Minor,
Yes.
Alderman Boston,
Yes.
Alderman Wallach,
Yes.
Alderman Step.
Yes.
8 ayes, the motion is passed.
Thank you.
The third item on the agenda is an ordinance amending Section 19 of the code. Section 19 of the code pertains to redevelopment proposals. This ordinance makes two amendments. The first is to eliminate a duplicative request for redevelopment proposals when we have already selected a developer as the preferred developer for a site. It also amends another section of that same chapter that provides procedures for furnishing written tax impact statements and notices of public hearing to affected taxing districts. So this is simply a way for the city to proceed in a more timely fashion when considering requests for a Chapter 353 tax abatement, provided that we've already received and identified a developer as the preferred developer for the site. And then the other amendment, the second one, brings our code into agreement with Chapter 353 of the Missouri statutes, which requires that these provisions be set by local ordinance.
Okay. Any questions from the audience on this side regarding this issue? Yes, ma'am. State your name and address again, please.
Yes, Martha Duchow, 9158 Jenner Brant Lane. First, I'd like to express my sincere thanks to the city administrator for providing me some background and context on this issue. It goes towards transparency, and it really provided a lot of clarification for me, so for that, I would like to say thank you very much. And the main question I had is, under Urban Streets application for lighting analysis, it's being done under Chapter 99. And since the requirements in the definition of light under Chapter 353 are different, and the plan is currently being reviewed by the TIF Commission, And the city's planner, PGAV, completed a blighting analysis based on the requirements of Chapter 99. What would happen, let's say midstream, if the developer decided to elect to go with a 353? How would that impact the TIF Commission's deliberations? Would PGAV need to resubmit another analysis so that it complied with the statutes for 353? And just some clarification on how this will impact the TIF Commission's deliberations.
It will have no impact on the TIF Commission's deliberations. The proposal that's before the TIF Commission is complete, and as you know, they're reviewing it to make sure that it meets the requirements set forth by the TIF statutes. Chapter 353 is an alternative track, just in case the developer or the board decides to pursue that option. It's simply an alternative.
Right, and if they did decide to pursue that option, my question would be, the TIF Commission is looking at this under Chapter 99, lighting requirements. If the TIF Commission, if the developer decided to change and take the option of a 353 before the TIF Commission was done deliberating, there are different requirements for 353 to meet blight than there are for Chapter 99. So that's what my question is. Would this go back to the TIF Commission due to the report that was the blighting analysis that was already submitted by PGAV?
It would not go before the TIF Commission if they decided to pursue 353 tax abatement. The sole authority for determining blight and whether or not 353 is applicable is up to the board.
It's up to the board?
Yes.
Even though that analysis is part of what the TIF Commission is considering?
Correct.
Okay,
It's
thank you.
two separate things.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone on this side have any questions regarding this issue? See no hands? Okay. Anyone on the board have any questions regarding this issue? See no lights? Okay. We have a motion and a second for a first reading.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed say nay. Bill number, please.
1565.
Yes, and Alderman reading, please.
Bill number 15-65. By Alderman Reading. An ordinance amending sections 19-54 and 19-57 of the municipal code of the city of Crestwood, Missouri, and directing the city clerk to schedule a public hearing upon submission of a development plan for Crestwood Plaza.
Roll call, please.
Alderman Minor.
Yes.
Alderman Charbonneau.
Yes.
Alderman Anderson.
Yes.
Alderman Wallach.
Yes.
Alderman Maybe.
Yes.
Alderman Statter.
Yes.
Alderman Boston.
Yes.
Alderman Reed.
Yes.
8 ayes, the motion is passed.
We have a motion and a second for a second reading.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Alderman Wallach, do the honors, please.
Yeah, thank you, Your Honor. Bill number 15-65, introduced by Alderman Reading. An ordinance amending sections 19-54 and 19-57 of the municipal code of the city of Crestwood, Missouri, directing the city clerk to schedule a public hearing upon submission of a development plan for Crestwood Plaza.
Roll call, please.
Alderman Boston.
Yes.
Alderman Charbonneau.
Yes.
Alderman Maybe.
Yes.
Alderman Reed.
Yes.
Alderman Anderson.
Yes.
Alderman Wallach.
Yes.
Alderman Minor.
Yes.
Alderman Stafford.
Yes.
8 ayes, the motion is passed.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is a request for approval of pavilion fees. This request updates the pavilion fees adopted by the board in December of 2012. There are two key changes to note. The first is the way the pavilions are classified. Previously, we had different rates based upon whether or not the pavilions were electric or not, and the way it was listed is Whitecliff Park Pavilion 2 or Whitecliff Park Pavilion 1. We've simplified things and simply classified our pavilions as those with electric service and those without electric service. The only other change is a change to the non-resident rate. We conducted a study of pavilion fees in the area, which is in the packet you'll see here, and Crestwood is highlighted. Our non-resident fees currently, we're on the low end of this chart, and the new fees, the proposed ones, bring us more or less into line with where everybody else is at. It will be up $10 to $70 a day for electric service and $60 a day for without electric services for non-residents. And resident fees stay the same.
Any questions from the audience on this issue for increased pavilion fees? Okay. Does the board have any questions? Alderman Statter?
Not a question, I just wanted to state that I was at the park board meeting where they evaluated this. They looked at the different options available to them, and they felt that based on the number of outside groups that do come in to rent our pavilions, based on the pricing for pavilions in the surrounding area, and the fact that we are now offering electric at all but one of our pavilions, that we could certainly support this change and it would be beneficial to the Parks Department.
Okay. Thank you for that report. Any other questions from the board? I see no lights. Okay, all we need is a voice vote on this, so do I have a motion in a second?
So moved.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Okay. Mr. Simpson?
The next item on the agenda, next several items, are ordinances requesting the approval of vehicle purchases. The first one is a case 621F wheel loader. You can read all the details about what it does, but it's in the total sum not to exceed $116,500. Designates the current equipment as surplus and authorizes us to trade it in. The front loader here is pretty old. It's 1996. It's got 3,600 hours on it. It requires a significant amount of maintenance going forward, and so it seems appropriate to replace it at this time. This loader is really valuable to the Public Works Department. I think most people here would probably benefit from it because it's what we use to load the salt during snow removal operations. So it's kind of important. Anyways, we hope it wouldn't break down. That's why you want to replace it from time to time.
Okay. Anyone in the audience have any questions regarding this purchase? It's the front end case loader. I will say that after reviewing this and going online, because our policy does allow us to make used purchases of equipment, I did an internet check throughout St. Louis and the rest of the country for these vehicles, and it appears that this particular vehicle that we're purchasing is at a very good price. I assume it's through the government, you get it. But even in 2014 with considerable hours on it, it is 170, 157,000, 157,000, 152, 129. So I think that this purchase is probably in line with what we should expect to pay. Any questions from the Alderman, maybe?
I was gonna say, it's in the budget for this year. The bid did come in a few $100s under budget. And this particular product by Case is made at their Wichita, Kansas factory. And I think their stuff domestically produced is better regarded than their stuff made internationally. So I think it's a prudent purchase.
Okay. Any other comments from the board? I see no other lights. We have a motion and a second for a first reading.
So moved.
Second. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Okay, we have bill number, please.
1566.
15-66.
Correct.
Sit down with Alderman Statter, please.
15-66, introduced by Alderman Statter. An ordinance authorizing the purchase of a case 621F wheel loader with hydraulic coupler and pallet forks in the total sum not to exceed $116,500, and designating the current equipment as surplus property and authorizing its trade-in.
Roll call, please.
Alderman Wallach,
Yes.
Alderman Minor,
Yes.
Alderman Reading,
Yes.
Alderman Maybe,
Yes.
Alderman Statter,
Yes.
Alderman Anderson,
Yes.
Alderman Charbonneau,
Yes.
Alderman Boston. 8 ayes, the motion passes.
Motion and a second, please, for a second reading.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Alderman Charbonneau, please.
Bill number 15-66, introduced by Alderman Statter, an ordinance authorizing the purchase of case 621F wheel loader with hydraulic coupler and pallet forks in the total sum not to exceed $116,500, and designating the current equipment as surplus property and authorizing its trade-in.
Roll call, please.
Alderman Charbonneau,
Yes.
Alderman Maybe,
Yes.
Alderman Statter,
Yes.
Alderman Anderson,
Yes.
Alderman Wallach,
Yes.
Alderman Boston,
Yes.
Alderman Breedy,
Yes.
Alderman Minor. 8 ayes, the motion passes.
Thank you.
The next ordinance authorizes the purchase of 2 Department of Public Services staff vehicles. In total, sum is not to exceed $49,000. It will designate 2 vehicles as surplus property and authorizes the sale of those surplus vehicles. So this is replacing 2 of the 4 staff cars in our public services fleet. The first vehicle is vehicle 209, which is a 2000 Ford Crown Vic with 84,000 miles on it. The estimated lifespan on these vehicles is 10 years. It's obviously well beyond 10 years now of lifespan on those cars. It's about time to replace it, and trading it in at least gets us some value back, though I don't know how much necessarily we would get for it, but there it is. The second vehicle that would be replaced is vehicle 499, which is a 1999 Dodge Intrepid with 104,000 miles on it. Again, these vehicles are starting to get at the end of their functional life, let alone, what you would expect out of their normal useful life.
Anyone in the audience have any questions regarding this purchase? I see no hands. Anyone on board? Alderman Waller?
Yeah, again, I recognize we went through this through the budget process, and during that budget process, I did raise a question in regards to the Fusion Hybrid. I question whether it's cost effective on that again. The cost of the hybrid is roughly around $23,000 on it. If it was just a regular vehicle, a Ford Fusion 2016, I believe it's $5,000 less. I just don't see the cost benefit for a hybrid if we can get a regular vehicle with, for $5,000 or less. So I would recommend that the board recommend to staff that we purchase a vehicle, 2016 vehicle Fusion, again, no hybrid, because I just don't see the cost benefit between $5,000. I don't see the savings for the fuel costs for $5,000 over the life of the vehicle, whether it's 10 years or 15 years.
Sure, please.
I'll submit this for the board's consideration as you decide on Alderman Wallach's suggestion. That's that even though a hybrid vehicle carries a higher initial cost, the cost for this vehicle is coming out of our capital improvements fund, but the fuel costs and the maintenance costs are coming out of our general fund. So to me, $1 saved from the general fund is a little bit more valuable than the $1 that we spent from the capital improvement fund. Just some food for thought as you all make your decision.
Alderman Maybe, did you have
I was going to say, I actually drive a 2015 Fusion Hybrid, and I don't baby it at all, and I'm getting 39 combined, so I don't think quite $5,000 is the spread either. This comes in, I think, $200 over budget combined for these two vehicles, but presumably, even our Intrepid would fetch that in scrap value, so I think we'll be at or below budget on these. And I think for how long we'll likely keep this vehicle, and while gas is low now, and no one has a crystal ball for 5 years from now, I think it's prudent to keep the hybrid in there.
Any other comments from the board? Alderman Wallach?
Yeah, again, I just want to make one comment, one concerns again. The budget for the fiscal year 2016 is not pretty. $600,000 somewhat over budget, so the $5,000 doesn't really make a difference, but it makes a focus of that. We're trying to save money for the city. I just don't see the savings for the $5,000 cost savings in fuel. Though I do recognize, according to Chris, we have exchanges back and forth. I do recognize again that if you can manage to save the general fund budget, that's great. But if you look at the big picture, combining all the expenses of the city, I just don't see the benefit of it.
Thank you. Any other comments, Alderman Brady?
What's the published mileage per gallon on the non-hybrid? Does anybody know?
I'd say mid-20s, although I would think we get a little lower than that, but I guess it depends if we're talking the 4 or the 6 cylinder, the one the city's looking at.
Well, if you remember, during the budget process, I was the one that said, let's lower the budget amount for gas, and everybody said, oh, you can't do that because you can't foresee gas for the whole year. So I'm gonna go with the recommended hybrid because unfortunately we can't predict the cost of gas for the whole year. That's my 2 cents.
Mr. Gillum, as Public Works Director, have you, can you provide any insight as to what the difference in mileage would be? Or you have an opinion on this?
I did not look at the difference in the mileage, but I suspect that it's probably in the 5 to 10 miles per gallon range. And Alderman Wallach was correct. When we looked at the difference between the Ford Fusion Hybrid and the Ford Fusion S, it is $5,300. It doesn't matter to Public Works which direction it goes.
Thank you. That answer your question, Alderman? Are you checking, Alderman staff?
I am, it might take me a minute to get there. You guys don't have to wait.
Alderman Maybe?
I'll play Ford salesman for a second, or I guess hybrid salesman, but the other benefit that just came to me as I was reflecting on this, since I made a similar decision about a year ago, is you actually, over the life of the vehicle, use less brake pad and tires because the engine does some of the braking for you. And so if this is going to be primarily a city car, and the person drives it with any kind of reasonableness, you look at lower maintenance on other things, not just the fuel. And that's not just this car, it'd be hybrids in general.
Thank you. Alderman Charbonneau?
Do we have any type of estimates that on the maintenance of the car in regards to it being a hybrid or maybe different type of engine parts or anything like that over the lifetime of the car? I know that in some of the hybrid vehicles, it is more expensive when it comes to maintenance, and I was just curious if we had a figure on that.
Okay. Mr. Gillum, do you have care to respond to that?
I do not have information on that, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. Alderman Davey?
The batteries have a 100,000 mile warranty, which would be the highest part, I guess. That'd be the most expensive part to replace. Oil changes around 10,000 mile increments, which is pretty low as well.
Alderman Vaught?
Again, not a Ford X-Ray, but again, does this vehicle come with a warranty of $100,000 for the battery? Because again, that was my concern. That was my concern. Again, if you're looking at the repairs of it, I see the batteries not lasting as long, and the cost of the batteries are more cost expensive than it would be. So, again, I'll just let the board recognize that again. There are some amendments tonight that we're gonna increase the budget for Park and Stormwater Fund. So again, I just think this is an opportunity for us to save a little money, but again, it's the board's direction or suggestion.
Alderman Stetter.
I did find a comparison online under www.newcars.com. There's a review for comparison between a 2016 Ford Fusion versus a 2016 Ford Fusion Hybrid. This is one side, guys, but just to give you what it's got here. City miles per gallon on a regular Ford Fusion is 22. City miles per gallon on a hybrid is 44. Highway miles per gallon on a regular is 31 to 34. They do not list the highway miles per gallon on Fusion Hybrid. I would argue that probably we don't do a lot of highway miles with our city cars though, so I'm not sure if we do that or if we could look it up somewhere else. Invoice price for the regular Fusion is between $21,188 and $30,719. Invoice for the hybrid is $24,070 to $29,151. So if any of that helps you guys with your decision process.
Thank you.
Sure.
We could go to an energy, Ford Fusion Energy, which I'm driving. I get 398 miles to the gallon. I was gas one time in 6 months, so. But I have to plug it in. Okay. All right, any other comments from the board? I see none. Alderman Wallet, did you wish to make a motion?
I don't think there was any sentiment in my favor on it, but
Okay. All right.
you want to make a motion? I'll second. All right, I'll make a motion that again, that we purchase a regular Ford Fusion rather than the Ford Fusion Hybrid.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Would you take a roll call, please?
Alderman Breeding?
No.
Alderman Boston?
No.
Alderman Anderson?
Yes.
Alderman Charbonneau?
Yes.
Alderman Wallach?
Yes.
Alderman Maybe?
No.
Alderman Minor?
No.
Alderman Statter?
No.
Motion fails.
Okay. All right. We now have a motion and a second for first reading of the ordinance as stated. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed say nay. Okay. May I have a bill number, please?
1567.
Let's see. Pass that to Alderman Boston, please. Alderman Wall, you wish to make a comment? Provide a-
Bill number 15-67, introduced by Alderman Boston. An ordinance authorizing the purchase of 2 Department of Public Works staff vehicles in a total sum not to exceed $49,000, designating 2 vehicles as surplus property and authorizing the sale of surplus vehicles.
Roll call, please.
Alderman Anderson?
Yes.
Alderman Wallach?
No.
Alderman Maybe?
Yes.
Alderman Charbonneau?
No.
Alderman Minor?
Yes.
Alderman Statter?
Yes.
Alderman Boston?
Yes.
Alderman Breeding?
Yes.
6 ayes, 2 nays, the motion passes.
We have a motion and a second for a second reading.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Alderman Maybe?
Bill number 1567, introduced by Alderman Boston. An ordinance authorizing the purchase of 2 Department of Public Services staff vehicles in the total sum not to exceed $49,000, designating 2 vehicles as surplus property and authorizing the sale of surplus vehicles.
Roll call, please.
Alderman Maybe?
Yes.
Alderman Statter?
Yes.
Alderman Boston?
Yes.
Alderman Wallach?
No.
Alderman Anderson?
Yes.
Alderman Breeding?
Yes.
Alderman Minor?
Yes.
Alderman Charbonneau?
No.
6 ayes, 2 nays, the motion is passed.
Thank you. Mr. Simpson?
Next item on our agenda is an ordinance authorizing the purchase of a 1-ton one-ton dump truck with spreader in total sum not to exceed $68,000, designating a vehicle as surplus and authorizing sale of surplus vehicle. This dump truck would replace truck 207 in our public works fleet, which is a 2002 F450 with 78,500 miles on it. Public Works reports that the frame, body, and fuel systems are extremely rusted, no longer reliable. The truck is currently undergoing diagnosis for hydraulic system failure. This is one of our trucks that's part of our snow removal fleet, so obviously it has a high priority for residents, I suppose. Snow removal doesn't get any higher, I suppose.
Okay. Anyone in the audience have any questions regarding this issue? This is the one-ton dump. I see no hands. Anyone on the board? Alderman Moore.
Yeah, thank you. Jim, just for clarity, was this unit used this past week or so?
I did not get the snow report on that, so I don't know if that was used or not specifically, but I know all six, well, let me backtrack. I do know that all six 2.5-ton dumps and the two 1-ton dumps would have been used, so yes, it was involved in the operation.
Okay. Thank you.
Alderman, maybe?
I was just going to note that the, looks like the bid amount did come in almost 3,000 under the approved budget.
Anyone else with any comments regarding this issue? Alderman Shelby.
Yes, Mr. Dillon, just for clarification, how many trucks do we have in service right now? Say 6?
There are 6 large dump trucks for snow removal, and then we use 2 smaller dump trucks for snow removal as well.
So all 8 were in service last week?
Yes.
Okay. Do you, and I know it's been talked about before, but do you feel that all 8 are necessary, for instance, last week? Because I personally felt like there might have been maybe more salt on the streets than actual snow accumulation. So I was just curious your opinion on that.
I guess my feeling on that is school got canceled, so we were not appropriately prepared to get all the snow off of there. When you look at the school report, almost every school district of note in the St. Louis area canceled that day.
On another side note, who, just for clarification purposes, who plows Sappington and Watson roads?
Sappington is plowed by St. Louis County, and Watson Road is plowed by Missouri Department of Transportation.
Thank you for clarifying that. Is there a possibility, and I know this is slightly off topic, is there a possibility to maybe plow those and be reimbursed from the county and state, since those were the worst roads in our area? Clearly, that's probably why school was canceled.
I can respond to that one because the mayor actually suggested I reach out to our area engineer from MoDOT. We've exchanged emails, in fact, today, are setting up a phone call to discuss that. I've received an estimate from Jim in terms of what he projects it would cost. It would change our snow service operations because obviously Watson is a higher priority. So we would have to reconfigure the snow plow routes to take that into account. There may be an adjustment period, there may be some impact to residents. That said, I'm sure plenty of residents would rather see Watson plowed more cleanly and be willing to make that trade-off. We're gonna have that conversation and see.
Right.
I'm not sure if it's a non-starter or not, if they'll say, no, we're not gonna reimburse you at all. In which case, I would imagine, unless the board says otherwise, we'll drive it at that.
And I appreciate that, because I'm not trying to criticize the job that the guys did. I think they did a phenomenal job. It was very easy to walk my dog in dress shoes and not have to worry about sliding all over the place before I went to work. I just noticed that when I was dropping my son to daycare that it's a good thing I had the 4-wheel drive on when I hit county roads. It's another great example of county service. Thank you, that's all.
Okay. Any other comments from the board on this issue? I see none. I will just mention that, again, as a result of our purchasing policy, we can look elsewhere. I did check internet again for vehicles of this type, and they are in the $40,000 to $44,000 range for a vehicle that meets the approximate specifications of the vehicle that we have here tonight. So it seems to be in line with the pricing. Any other comments from the board? Do we have a motion in the second? Alderman Lee.
I would make that motion. I guess just to clarify, you're saying the cost is higher just for the vehicle. Obviously, the combined cost for this includes outfitting with our things we need.
I had no way of checking to see what a nap height equipment bed would be, because that is a proprietary item manufactured by them. So, okay. No other questions? Do we have a motion and a second for a first reading? We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Bill number, please.
1568.
1568.
Correct.
Pass it down to Alderman Brady, please.
Bill number 1568, introduced by Alderman Breeding. An ordinance authorizing the purchase of a one-ton dump truck with spreader in a total sum not to exceed $68,000, designating the vehicle as surplus property and authorizing sale of surplus vehicle.
Roll call, please.
Alderman Wallach?
Yes.
Alderman Boston?
Yes.
Alderman Charbonneau?
Yes.
Alderman Maybe?
Yes.
Alderman Minor?
Yes.
Alderman Breeding?
Yes.
Alderman Anderson?
Yes.
Alderman Statter?
Yes.
8 ayes, the motion is passed.
We have a motion and a second for a second reading, please.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Alderman Waller.
Thank you.
Please.
Bill number 15-68, introduced by Alderman Breeding. An ordinance authorizing the purchase of a one-ton dump truck with spreader, the total sum not to exceed $68,000, designating the vehicle as surplus property, and authorizing sale of purchase of surplus vehicle.
Roll call, please.
Alderman Charbonneau?
Yes.
Alderman Boston?
Yes.
Alderman Breeding?
Yes.
Alderman Minor?
Yes.
Alderman Statter?
Yes.
Alderman Maybe?
Yes.
Alderman Wallach?
Yes.
Alderman Anderson?
Yes.
8 ayes, the motion passes.
Thank you. Mr. Simpson.
The next item on the agenda is an ordinance authorizing the purchase of a fire department vehicle in total sum not to exceed $27,184. This is a vehicle that would replace the current vehicle driven by the fire chief. We would, if the board approves, then use the chief's vehicle, which despite having 91,000 miles on it is actually still in pretty good shape. And we would like to transfer that vehicle over to Public Works, and it would replace the code enforcement officer's car, which is vehicle 5, an 03 Crown Vic with 82,000 miles on it. But having ridden in it, I can vouch for its disrepair at this point.
Anyone in the audience have any questions or comments regarding this purchase? Either side? I see no hands. Board of Alderman, any questions, Mr. Anderson?
Yeah, thank you, Your Honor. As I understand it, this vehicle was scheduled to be replaced per the schedule that had been set forth for the capital improvement budget in 2018, so that it would be, we would be moving this up. As I recall, during the budget discussions, the vehicle, the chief indicated was in good condition, didn't have any real problems or issues, and I think this would be one place where maybe we could follow the schedule that had already been set out, and for this year, save some funds.
Okay. Alderman Waller.
Yeah, and I don't have any issues on it, but I believe the item being purchased is an Interceptor, is that correct, and not an Explorer? Because it's in the documents as an Explorer, but I think it's an Interceptor.
Explore.
I'm sorry?
It's an Explorer.
Okay, because I thought the bid process that we're looking at from the Joe Mackins, it reflects it's a, am I not reading the right one?
It's an Interceptor SUV, Alderman, that's what the Explorer is.
Gotcha. Thank you for the clarity on it. All right, thank you.
Alderman maybe?
Yeah, I don't want to beat a dead horse. I think we talked about this in the budget process a lot. I think there was some opportunities to either A, buy a cheaper car or replace the Crown Vic directly. If you went with the Ford Fusion Hybrid, you'd be saving $5,000 right here. Or if you keep with the original schedule, you're talking about this in a couple of years. I think the board split on this in the budget process, but I'm going to go with my vote then, and that's no on this purchase.
All right. And if I can make a note to this, we've discussed this with, I've discussed this with Mr. Simpson and Fire Chief. Because he's announced his retirement in March, and we don't yet know who we're going to be, whether we will be replacing him with another chief from outside or someone from the inside. At this point in time, I think we could hold off on purchasing this vehicle until that decision has been made. And simply, when his retirement occurs, at that time, retire the code enforcement officer's vehicle, which is in dire need of repair and replacement, and move his vehicle over to code enforcement. So at that point in time, we're not spending any money for any vehicles for the fire. That's my recommendation. The board can take action on that or not. Any comments? Alderman Stedham?
I'd like to just go ahead and make the motion that we not look at replacing the fire chief's vehicle at this time, and instead take the mayor's recommendation to revisit this in March.
Alderman Charbonneau, did you want to make a comment?
No, it's going to be all on Saturday.
Okay.
Just a point of information, is the motion table then?
Okay, so we have a motion then to not to purchase, right, table the original ordinance. Okay, do we have a second?
I second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, table.
The next item on the agenda is an ordinance authorizing the purchase of 2 police vehicles in total sum not to exceed $53,983. Designates 2 police vehicles as surplus property and authorizes the sale of those surplus vehicles. This would replace in our fleet an 02 Crown Vic with just over 68,000 miles on it, and an 06 Taurus with, I believe, just over 78,000 miles on it.
Any questions from the audience on this issue? For the two police vehicles, correct? Okay. See no hands. Alderman Charbonneau?
I would like to move that we accept this, make a motion that we proceed with the purchase of the 2 police vehicles.
Okay, we have a motion. Anyone else wish to comment prior to Alderman Wallach?
Yeah, brief comment. And again, I recognize the 2 replacement vehicles. One is a 2004 Crown Vic, which is 68,000 miles. The other one is a Ford Taurus, which is 78,000 miles. And I believe when I corresponded with the chief this afternoon, the Ford Taurus vehicle is actually a unmarked vehicle presently. I guess my question is, are we not going to have another unmarked vehicle, or is that vehicle that we have in the fleet now is going to serve as a replacement for that unmarked vehicle?
There have been preliminary discussions with the fleet manager about how we will make some moves internally within the fleet to replace the 2 cars that we are going to replace. So we will be replacing the 2 cars. The 2002 Crown Vic and the 2006 Ford Taurus.
Okay. But these two interceptors, though, they go to the patrol officers for their use, is that correct?
One is going to patrol and one is going to the administrative fleet.
The administrative fleet consists of what? I apologize if you could educate me, which one's the administrative?
The 2 detective cars, the chief's car, and the car for the lieutenants.
Again, sometimes with the administrative fleet, although they get the short stick of it, whether they should be receiving vehicles that's already been used that we do for other services. Again, I still question that. I will make a remark in regards to the cost of the vehicle. I know I went through, Creve Corps went through the bid process too, and I think their price for their vehicles for the interceptors for 2 of them was $55,980. This is $53,980, so it's a $2,000 savings. But I also recognize too that again we're moving towards SUVs. Again, I just want to just make focus too again whether sedans are more appropriate, because I know through the Creve Corps they actually purchased Dodge Chargers. I know that's a different vehicle, not Ford. The cost is less. It's around $24,000 per vehicle. So it might be a $3,000 savings, whether that's the benefit or not, because I think you get more fuel savings maybe with the sedan compared to the SUV. Although I recognize too with the SUVs you get more of a more comfort level, more high stance level for the riders as well. So I just don't know whether it's cost benefit to maybe go with maybe a sedan rather than SUV, but for now.
Alderman Sharpman?
Yes, and actually, to answer Alderman Walt's question a little bit about that, I know in the police board meetings we've discussed with the chief that the SUVs, I mean, they're able to see out of them, the engines are the same, they seem to be holding up a little bit better than the cars, from what we understand. And I think they're warranted. I know that these cars are old that we're replacing, they stand out, they look nice, and let everyone know that their local police force is making a presence. So, again, I asked to make a motion. I would ask for a second.
Alderman Boston, do you have a question?
Yeah, I'd just like to add something to that. We've got kind of a mix of cars now. If we get all of these of the same type, we go to the SUVs with the all-wheel drive. First of all, they're gonna go a lot better in the snow or any other conditions. The other problem is that the tool problem. If the cars are all alike, the testing equipment, the tools that we have will service all our cars. The tools that we have for the old rear-wheel drive cars, a lot of it doesn't work on these new cars. So we're gonna save money when everything's all alike and they're easy to diagnose also. It's just better that the fleets match instead of the older rear-wheel drives. I think that makes a big difference.
Okay, thank you. All right, now Alderman Sharpman.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the purchase of 2 new vehicles for the police department.
Okay, do we have a second? We have a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. Bill number, please.
1569.
Alderman Meyer, if you do the honors, please.
Yes, sir. Bill number 1569, introduced by Alderman Minor, an ordinance authorizing the purchase of 2 police vehicles in a total sum not to exceed $53,983, designating 2 police vehicles as surplus property, and authorizing the sale of 2 surplus vehicles.
Roll call, please.
Alderman Maybe.
Abstain.
Alderman Green.
Yes.
Alderman Minor.
Yes.
Alderman Charbonneau.
Yes.
Alderman Boston.
Yes.
Alderman Wallach.
Yes.
Alderman Anderson.
Yes.
Alderman Stack.
Yes.
7 ayes, the motion is passed.
Have a motion and a second for a second reading, please.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Alderman Anderson, would you do the honors, please?
Thank you. Bill number 15-69, introduced by Alderman Minor, an ordinance authorizing the purchase of 2 police vehicles in the total sum not to exceed $53,983, designating 2 police vehicles as surplus property and authorizing sale of the 2 surplus vehicles.
Roll call, please.
Alderman Breeding.
Yes.
Alderman Stratter.
Yes.
Alderman Maybe.
Abstain.
Alderman Anderson.
Yes.
Alderman Wallach.
Yes.
Alderman Charbonneau.
Yes.
Alderman Boston.
Yes.
Alderman Minor. 7 ayes, the motion is passed.
Thank you. Mr. Simpson?
The next item on the agenda is an ordinance approving a contract extension with Regis Commission for law enforcement services. I don't know how to explain this. Chief, could you maybe provide some background as to, for the audience, what Regis is, what they do?
Regis is where we obtain our criminal justice information. They're also in this proposal is the records and computer-assisted dispatching and the connectivity for all of the police vehicles for the in-car computers. They provide us with all of the arrest record information. It's where we enter wanteds. It's how we inquire into databases of Department of Revenue and the FBI and NCIC.
This item was forwarded from 2 weeks ago, the last board meeting, to get a revised memo from the chief, and he has updated that memo and attached it. It looks like the price actually went down, so maybe, I don't know if we're tempted to forward it again, chief. They'll just keep going each time, but probably not.
I think this is about as good as it's gonna get.
Any questions from the audience on this issue? Yes, sir. Please state your name and address, Mr.
Robert Miller, 8915 West Haven Court. Yeah, this regional justice and information system, I realize is a non-source competitive item, but I had a couple of questions here. Maybe you mentioned, I didn't see it in the listing here. How much is that contract this year, the service contract this year?
$98,621.88.
Okay, and then what was it, for example, last year?
I don't know off the top of my head.
About 103.
So, has it been pretty stable over the last 4,
Yes,
5,
sir.
6 years? Okay, well, that sounds good. It shouldn't, right. I know it's a non-bid item, so you can't exist without it, so that was my question. Thank you.
You're welcome, sir. Anyone else in the audience have any questions regarding this item? See no hands? Anyone on the board? Alderman Stratter?
I just had a quick question, and it kind of ties in. I know that this is something that we have to have, and I was trying to look back to previous years. I know we've been with Regis for a while. Did we have a different service prior to them? Have we always been with Regis?
We have always had Regis since we opened center in 73. Along the line when Chief Greer was here, we tried to split some of the costs between Regis and using the highway patrol system, and it became a nightmare. And at that point, Regis went from a funding or a charging system of every time you hit the enter key to subscription service. So once we went to subscription service, there was no benefit to having to maintain connectivity to 2 different people, and the mule system of the highway patrol doesn't do nearly what Regis does.
And that's the only options
Yes.
in our area available to us? Thank you, that answers my question.
Any other comments or questions from the board? I see no other lights. We have a motion and a second for a first reading.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Bill number, please.
1570.
15-70.
Correct.
Okay. Well, is that Alderman Boston, please?
Bill number 15-70, introduced by Alderman Boston. An ordinance approving the annual renewal of the law enforcement services agreements with Regis Commission for services and support, and authorizing the mayor and the city clerk to take certain actions on behalf of the city.
Roll call, please.
Alderman Charbonneau?
Yes.
Alderman Wallach?
Yes.
Alderman Boston?
Yes.
Alderman Minor? Alderman Anderson?
Yes.
Alderman Breeding?
Yes.
Alderman Baby?
Yes.
Alderman Statter?
Yes.
8 ayes, the motion passes.
We have a motion and a second for a second reading, please.
So moved.
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Alderman, maybe would you do the honors, please?
Bill number 1570, introduced by Alderman Boston, an ordinance approving annual renewal of the law enforcement services agreement with Regis Commission for services and supported, and authorizing the mayor and city clerk to take certain actions on behalf of the city.
Roll call, please.
Alderman Anderson?
Yes.
Alderman Boston?
Yes.
Alderman Charbonneau?
Yes.
Alderman Breeding?
Yes.
Alderman Minor? Alderman Baby?
Yes.
Alderman Statter?
Yes.
Alderman Wallach?
Yes.
8 ayes, the motion passes.
Thank you. Mr. Simpson?
Next item on the agenda is an ordinance amending the 2016 Capital Improvement Fund budget. This is for a project, a carryover project that started in 2015. Rained a little bit at the end of the year there, and so it needs to be completed in 2016. So we need to amend the budget to make allowance for that. This is for Spellman Avenue reconstruction.
So this is money that was not spent in 2015 that will now be spent in 2016, and therefore we're making an adjustment through this ordinance.
Correct.
Okay. Anyone from the audience have any questions regarding this? No hands? Any members of the board have any questions? Alderman Charbonneau.
Jim, what's the likelihood this thing actually gets completed in 2016?
I'd say it's pretty good.
Okay, I just hope that happens. Could you just clarify what is left to make this thing complete, in the books, done?
We've got to do final grading, we've got to do sodding and restoration, all of the fences that need to be put back in place, the stormwater detention areas that need to be finalized. It's all the final restoration issues. All of the paving and all for the street and all of the paving for the sidewalk is complete.
Okay, and you think this will be completed in Q1, Q2? I'm just trying to get an idea for the residents when they ask.
I suspect it'll be more in the April-May range, because it has to do when you can get sod cut.
Sure, and I assume that it would be at least this spring because of the sodding purposes. Just wanted some clarification. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the board? I see no further lights. We have a motion and a second for a first reading.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Bill number, please.
1571.
15-71. Please pass it down to Alderman Statter.
Bill number 1571, introduced by Alderman Statter. An ordinance amending ordinance number 4608, the Capital Improvement Fund budget for the fiscal year beginning January 1, 2016, relating to the city's street reconstruction program and the accounting of capital improvement fund expenditures.
Roll call, please.
Alderman Minor? Alderman Charbonneau?
Yes.
Alderman Anderson?
Yes.
Alderman Wallach?
Yes.
Alderman Baby?
Yes.
Alderman Statter.
Yes.
Alderman Boston.
Yes.
Alderman Reed.
Yes.
8 ayes, the motion passes.
Do I have a motion and a second for a second reading, please?
So
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Alderman Charbonneau, would you do the honors, please?
Bill number 15-71, introduced by Alderman Saturn, an ordinance amending ordinance number 4608, the capital improvement fund budget for the fiscal year beginning January 1st, 2016, relating to the city's street reconstruction program and the accounting of capital improvement fund expenditures.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Alderman Boston.
Yes.
Alderman Charbonneau.
Yes.
Alderman Maybe.
Yes.
Alderman Reed.
Yes.
Alderman Henderson. Alderman Wallach.
Yes.
Alderman Minor. Alderman Statter.
Yes.
8 ayes, the motion passes.
Thank you. Mr. Simpson?
The next item on the agenda is another carryover project. It's an ordinance amending the 2016 Park and Stormwater Fund budget. This is for a number of projects started in 2015 that were finished in 2016. Lightcliff Park HVAC and electrical, Sappington Historical, Campus HVAC, Crestwood Park Pavilions, Spellman Park improvements. So a number of projects in Parks and Recreation that will be finishing up this year.
And the total of that adjustment from last year to this year is,
I've got a bunch of different numbers. $77,196. No. It's $199,309, though that includes there's a $77,000 grant that's tied to that on the revenue side.
okay, thank you. Any questions from the audience on this issue? Yes, sir. Please state your name and address.
915 West Haven Court. I had a question here where they talk about this Thomas Sappington Historic. Is this that restaurant down the street here?
And I would assume it's the house itself. Jim, do you know, does this relate to the barn restaurant?
This is for the Thomas Sappington House Museum.
Well, it has nothing to do with the restaurant down there. It's a different building.
Yes.
There are multiple buildings there. I think there may be one or two egress lighting fixtures that are going to be in the barn restaurant, but the major amount of work is being done in the museum itself.
I was gonna issue my objection to subsidizing the restaurant down there. I've never been there, but I think the restaurant, it came through here before, we were gonna buy a new restaurant or pay their electric bill or whatever. I don't think taxpayers, that place was given to us, but if they can't make their own money and pay their own bills down there and put their own kitchen in, well, you know, I've never been there. I don't know, maybe if it becomes a 5-star, I might think about it, but otherwise, I don't think the taxpayers should be subsidizing it.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Mayor. Actually, that's subject for another meeting that'll be coming up.
Okay, good. I don't have ESP, I didn't know that. Thank you.
Yes, sir?
Excuse me. Sure.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Steve Nieder, 9131 Cherrybrook Lane. With the amount of money that you're spending on the Sappington House area, was the Sappington House Foundation consulted and asked to participate some way financially in this, since they do have, well, at one time they had $500,000 in it available to them?
Not for this expenditure.
And why not? Since it is a lot of their responsibility in their funding to take care of part of this too. Why were they not asked to share in this cost?
I think they only have about 30,000 in CD and about 2,000 in their checking account.
Really? So in 2 years' time, they got rid of $400,000 or better? Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, sir. Okay, any other questions from the audience on this issue? See no other hands? Any question from the board? Alderman Wallach.
Yeah, thank you. I just need some clarity on it. Now, it looks like the White Cliff project, which is building improvements, 57,201. And I'm speculating again, these are items that we had budgeted for, projects that we had budgeted for 2015, but we're not going to finish, so we're going to do it in 2016. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Then I'm looking down to the third item, which is the Crestwood Pavilion, which is again the same, should be out of the same funding. For $28,938. I guess my question for clarity for those two items. These are capital improvement items, and I believe these two items, which is again the White Cliff project, as well as Crestwood Pavilions, was to be paid out of the buildings and improvements, $300,000 allocation for the fiscal year 2015. Is that correct?
That was where the monies initially started, yes.
Okay. My question then is because the numbers that we have listed here are not, and that's where my disconnect is. Because again, the city in the budget for 2015 allocated $300,000 for the building improvements. Now my question to Rick, again, using those two figures, 57,201 and 28,938, that's roughly 86,139. To date, for the 2015 fiscal year, for the capital improvement, building improvement projects, have we incurred around $213,000 or less? Because we're allocating roughly $86,000 for 2016. I just want to make sure that what we spent in 2015 is what we budgeted for, to make sure that we have that.
A couple of questions there. I'll see if I can circle back. One, I don't have all of the final costs yet because we haven't processed all the final invoices against Fund 21 capital. So I can't really answer your question. I can, however, point out that these projects were meant to be done within the $300,000 total for buildings and improvements in 15, recognizing as we went through the 16 budget process that there were still funds that had not been earmarked. So the direction from the board was to attempt to spend as many of those dollars and accomplish as many of these projects as possible in 15 using those 2015 funds. Just a reminder, those funds were in the capital improvement fund. Going into 16, these are basically carryover amounts. One of these I think is slightly higher than originally anticipated in 15, and these are being budgeted now in Parks and Stormwater Fund per the board's direction that all associated projects and parks be funded by parks.
Okay. Thanks for the explanation. I don't know if it really answered the question though. Again, I just want to make sure that we're spending within the fiscal year 2015. Just using simple math, we allocated $300,000. We're trying to push $86,000 to fiscal year 2016. I just want to make sure that we've only spent the $213,000 that we've allocated for 2015. I'm just using simple math. And I just want to make sure. And then my other question would be the Senton project, again, which is on this list for $35,974. I recognize this is on the agenda item for later in the meeting. I guess we can do a budget adjustment for it. But the board has not yet approved of that contract. So that's where my disconnect is, because this board has not yet approved of a contract for Bell Electrical for some of the funds that's being allocated for the $35,974. You understand where my disconnect is, because we're jumping ahead when we haven't even approved the contract
You would
yet.
prefer to approve the contracts prior to the budget?
Correct, at least on this particular item. Right. Because again, I recognize we're trying to increase the budget, and again, I would hold off increasing the budget relating to the second project. I mean, we've allocated for the fiscal year 2016, bear with me here. For 2016, we've allocated again, there's one project for $240,000, which is for the HVAC system, for the capital improvement for the partial stormwater. Then another $18,800 for the HVAC system. So roughly we've allocated $262,000. So again, we don't know what the contract is for the HVAC system for the Rockefeller Court. And so I don't know, I think we're just jumping ahead, anticipating that bid's gonna be so high. I would hold off on making that budget adjustment for the second project. I don't know if we need it. We won't need it until we find out the other bid for the other one. And then at that point, we can make a decision. So again, that's where my concern is. And I just wanna make sure that we're spending within what we've allocated for 2015. And then again, the allocation for the second project, I think is just too early right now. So I would make an amendment during this process, but.
Any other questions from the other Alderman?
Right.
Alderman Anderson?
Thank you. I had a question about the pavilions in Crestwood Park. I was disappointed those weren't completed in December. There were a lot of days, I go up there every day, and there were a lot of days that there wasn't any work done. And I don't know whether what the problem was, but I thought that should have been completed in December. We could have had it in 15's budget. But I suppose there probably is some explanation, but I hope in the future that who's ever doing the work on this, that we take that into account if they're wanting to do another project, because I really don't think they were timely or taking advantage of the weather that they did have there in late November and December. The other comment I had on that was do I understand then that the monies allocated for that work have been spent except for the $28,938?
That is correct, Alderman.
So in other words, the contractor has actually received those funds at this point?
Yes, they have.
Okay. All right. So, and I'm assuming that the work that's been completed is commensurate with the money that's been paid them?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so, yeah, I just did hope that would have been a little quicker.
I also hoped it would have been quicker.
And the other question I had was on I guess it would be on the Sappington project. If I understand it, the budget on that for this year is $22,500.
That is correct.
Yeah, and I'm trying to think back, did we, in the budget process, did we talk about the fact that in 2016, there was going to be some request for the air conditioning and I think there was some other project, which would, as I understand it, would have been somewhere around the $60,000 mark? I was just wondering why we budgeted 22 when we knew that we were looking at some sort of bid or contract or proposal for 60,000.
When it was discussed with staff, we discussed doing a budget amendment this year versus interfering with the budget process.
So, so that the budget then that'll actually new dollars, that won't be any transfer from 15 to 16.
That is correct.
Okay. Okay, that's all I have.
Alderman Sharpman?
I was just gonna suggest that it be possible, I mean, I think, Alderman Walk has brought up some valid points as well as Alderman Anderson, if we could possibly table this to some of the, staff to answer some of the questions for us. To the next board meeting, which I believe is in 2 weeks.
Alderman maybe?
Yeah, as far as the budget amendment and the rollover, projects 1 through 7, for $101,092 that the board previously approved. Similar to the capital improvement fund budget, work that didn't get done due to the weather in December or what have you, I'm perfectly fine with that. The items on the memo, 8 and 9, and the non-carryover item, the increase on the Sappington House budget from 22.5 to 58,474, or an increase of 35,974. I don't think it's justifiable at this time or ever. I mean, $60,000. I mean, I did read the BRIC report. I think their recommendations were should be respected. It's a group of well-known engineers. They did identify the HVAC system as being a high priority there. And 22.5 was the number that was from day one of the Ways and Means Committees all the way through final adoption. Was discussed, and to have the price come back at 58,474. I think that's one we need to kick out to bid again and see where the bids might come in. But I mean, with revenues of $1,000 a year from that house, I don't think we should spend $60,000 on the HVAC. I don't think Tom Sappington had an air conditioner there. So I would, along with what Alderman Wallach thought, I will make the motion that we strike the increase of $35,974 from line item A2350 092 805 8011 and leave it at its original $22,500 amount. Second.
Can I just clarify, sorry, you're moving to take that part out of this,
It would, yeah, I'm fine with it. So the,
amend the ordinance to take that out?
yeah, the way, I know the memo is structured differently than the ordinance. If I'm reading this correctly, that would, removing that would leave us just with this, correct?
Right, so you're amending the ordinance to take this part out.
Yes, deleting the increase of 35,974 and leaving us with 22.5 and leaving the rest of the ordinance unchanged.
Now, second, on that motion to add it.
Before we do that, I have a question for Mr. Gilman, and I spoke to Mr. Simpson about this today. You know, I think anybody that looks at HVAC systems looks at their house and says, well, gee, I just put in a new system, it cost me less than $5,000. Why is it $58,000 for a furnace air conditioner for the Sappington House? That just strikes me as being really high.
Part of it is you're boring through a stone foundation to put the condenser outside. We're also going to put a period feature around the condenser so that it's not exposed in a historic area. And the air handling unit is on the opposite wall of the basement, so you've got to take piping all the way around the exterior of the wall. And it's not very convenient. The access is not very good as far as getting the equipment inside the basement either.
So the old system was actually a hot water system, is that correct?
It's a wastewater or water cooled system, and you typically spend $2,000 to $2,500 a year just on water.
Okay, but the new system that's going in, does it require, does the old system use ductwork? Just like, you know, you'd have in your house? Or is it baseboard type heaters? I'm at a loss because I really don't know.
I can't remember either.
Okay. All right, so we have a motion and a second to strike the 35,974. And we're reducing that back to the 22,500.
Yes, and I'd like to see if there's a solution that can be accomplished within the budget amount.
You okay with that? All right. We have a motion and a second. Second roll call, please.
Alderman Minor? Yes. Alderman Charbonneau?
Yes.
Alderman Anderson?
Yes.
Alderman Wallach?
Yes.
Alderman Maybe?
Yes.
Alderman Steros?
Yes.
Alderman Austin?
Yes.
Alderman Reed?
Yes.
8 ayes, the motion passes.
Okay. Now I'll need a motion and a second for first reading of this as amended.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Bill number, please.
1572.
Alderman Boston, please.
Bill number 15-72, an ordinance amending ordinance number 4609, the Park and Stormwater Fund budget for the fiscal year beginning January 1st, 2016, relating to the city's improvement program and the accounting of the Park and Stormwater Fund expenditures.
Roll call, please.
Alderman Wallach?
Yes.
Alderman Minor?
Yes.
Alderman Reed?
Yes.
Alderman Maybe?
Yes.
Alderman Staver?
Yes.
Alderman Anderson?
Yes.
Alderman Charbonneau?
Yes.
Alderman Boston?
Yes.
8 ayes, the motion passes.
We have a motion and a second for second reading as amended.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Alderman Maybe.
Bill number 1572, introduced by Alderman Boston, an ordinance amending ordinance number 4609, the Park and Stormwater Fund budget for the fiscal year beginning January the 1st, 2016, relating to the city's improvement program and the accounting of Park and Stormwater Fund expenditures as amended.
Roll call, please.
I'm checking. Sorry. Alderman Charbonneau?
Yes.
Alderman Maybe?
Yes.
Alderman Staver?
Yes.
Alderman Anderson?
Yes.
Alderman Wallach?
Yes.
Alderman Boston?
Yes.
Alderman Reed?
Yes.
Alderman Minor? Yes. 8 ayes, the motion is passed.
The next item on the agenda is an ordinance amending an agreement with Bell Electric. This is for electrical and HVAC improvements at White Cliff Community Center and Thomas Sappington Historic Complex.
Anyone in the audience with any questions regarding this item? See no hands. Members of the board, Alderman Maybe.
A question and then a motion, I guess. Mr. Gillum, is the only amendment to the contract that we already have with Bell just this work on the HVAC at the Sappington House?
That's correct.
Then I would make a motion that we postpone this ordinance indefinitely.
So we have a motion and a second to table this, or you want to,
I would just postpone it indefinitely
all
rather
right,
than leave it on
so
the table.
postpone indefinitely. We have a motion and a second to that. Alderman Brady?
Is there discussion or do we have to vote?
Yeah.
We got a discussion after.
Well, there has to be a need. We wouldn't just want to replace the HVAC system without a need. Maybe it should be researched and come back.
I guess the question you asked would be, is it broken?
Okay, is it broken?
It is not totally broken, but it is the number one priority on the grid report as far as capital improvements. So it's one of those things that we would rather replace it than have a failure and then be rushed into a replacement.
Can you reword that to further research?
I'll let the city attorney weigh in. I mean, the postponing, it definitely doesn't mean it can't come back before the board. It just doesn't leave this particular ordinance coming back to us. I don't envision a scenario where we would pay Bell $60,000 to do this work. So I think it would just be a brand new ordinance at some point coming before the board for hopefully something under $20,000. And I guess, just a quick question while we're on this, did we ever get the annual report from the Sappington House Foundation?
No. I have not gotten a report from the foundation at this time. There was some health issues with the president's husband, who has since passed away, that kept her from those duties.
Okay.
Anything else, Alderman Green?
That'd be all.
Okay. Alderman Stetter?
Thank you. I would be supportive in pushing this off while more research is done. I do think it would benefit us to send this back out for bid, given that we're seeing such a large increase from what we'd originally budgeted for. I can certainly see why we would not want to let this fail completely and then be rushed into a fix, but I would also definitely like to get feedback from the Sappington House Foundation on their annual report, where they are, and see if they could potentially give us some assistance with this. I understand they may not have a lot of money in there, but neither do we.
Alderman Wallen?
Yeah, I guess I just need more clarity. I know the brick report, again, which is number 6 on the brick report for this item, it indicated that, again, it's only an estimate for $15,000 for the brick report, but again, we now have an estimate from the contractor that says it's $60,000. So I don't know if there's maybe different methods, equipment than the bid that we received from Bill. That was not, so I just need to maybe educate, or maybe reach out to Brick. What equipment did he foresee as needed for the museum? So that was my suggestion to the staff, and maybe look at it a little bit further with Brick.
Mr. Gilman, did they break these costs out for us with regards to the enclosure? I know they're not, I know even though their name is Brick, they're not a bricklayer. And this does indicate that there's replace a well structure that's happening to the house exterior. I'm assuming that's a surround to conceal this condensing unit. And if that's the case, they're obviously serving as a with another contractor doing the work. And as most contractors do, they add a little something in there for themselves when they're bidding and quoting the job. And so I'd just like to find out, if we can get this broken out.
The cost for the enclosure was approximately $13,500. The cost for the HVAC unit was approximately $45,000.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from the board? Okay, so we have a motion to strike this indefinitely. And a second, I'm sorry?
Yeah, motion to postpone.
Yeah.
Alderman, maybe you made the motion, but who seconded this?
Alderman Wallen did.
Thank you.
Okay, and we have a motion to second to postpone this indefinitely. Okay, roll call please.
Alderman Moore?
Yes.
Alderman Sharp?
Yes.
Alderman Maybe?
Yes.
Alderman Minor? Yes. Alderman Reed?
Yes.
Alderman Stack?
Yes.
Alderman Boston?
Yes.
Alderman Henderson?
Yeah.
8 ayes, the motion is passed to postpone it indefinitely.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. Okay, next item on the agenda is the production of bills. I see none. Next item is introduction of other bills. I see no lights. Next item, reports from the mayor, board members, and city attorney. Alderman Breeding?
No report.
Alderman Wallach?
No report.
Alderman Statter?
Yes, Your Honor. There was a park board meeting on January 19th. I will condense the rather lengthy report that our Parks and Recreation Director so kindly gave me, so I didn't have to take a million notes, and I will pass this along to Helen for the record. The fall session of programs finished with 527 participants signed up in 51 programs with over $26,308.50 in fees collected. Upcoming winter session, which begins in January, has 175 registrations in 35 programs and $10,099 in fees collected. Looks like overall for 2015 in comparison to 2014, new pass sales were down by 167 passes. However, pass renewals were up by 110, and overall the revenue was up by $4,255. They gave a quick report that the Spellman Park project is proceeding. Tennis court has been paved and the fence installed. Park benches and lighting have been installed. The small gazebo has been received, will be installed as soon as it was delivered. And then I think we've heard since this came in that it's been delivered. Is that true, Todd, the small gazebo?
I have not heard if it has actually made it in.
So perhaps it is not, but it will be installed as soon as it is delivered. And we are going to request a 90-day extension from the Municipal Park Grant Commission to finish this work, just in case the weather causes delays between now and the end of the grant year in February. We are hopeful we won't need that extension, but we just want to be on the safe side. We've run electricity to the Rotary Pavilion in White Cliff Park. And the lounge and dance gym were painted, leaving only a little painting left to do in the fitness room. And 106 and 107, which won't be finished until 2017. There's quite a bit more on here, but I'll pass this along so we can go on the permanent record. Everybody can pull it up that way. One last thing that I do want to mention though. The aquatic staff, the 2015 staff for the aquatic center was being contacted to see who will be returning and who will not. And he just made a mention that MPM has been working on the guard staff, and this will be their last contracted year with us. So after this year, we'll be making a decision again on who will be going in there. So his hope is that they will do a fantastic job so that we will want to keep them on. We'll see. All right, thank you.
Okay. Alderman Sherman.
There was a police board meeting last night due to the closed session meeting. I was in and out, so I asked Chief Arnoldi if he would give a brief overview of the police board meeting.
Chief?
The police board met last night. We went over the crime stats for November and December. We discussed the implementation of the budget and for 2016 and the accompanying pay plan. We talked about that there was no news on the accreditation through Missouri police chiefs. We talked about that right now we're taking kind of a wait and see attitude on the county police bill to put the county police where they have more control over the municipal police departments, and we discussed the purchase of the 2 vehicles.
Thank you, Chief. No other report. I didn't have to fill in for anyone this time. But you all still owe me.
Okay. Alderman Navy.
No report.
Alderman Boston.
Yes, Your Honor. I attended the Crestwood Veterans Memorial meeting last Thursday. It was a very short meeting. The only highlight of the meeting was the selection of the new chairman, which was Paul Tagg.
Okay, thank you. Alderman Anderson.
No report, Your Honor.
Alderman Minor. Okay. City Attorney.
No report, Your Honor.
Okay. The only thing I have is that, of course, the legislature is back in session. There are a number of issues that are being taken up that will further affect municipalities as Senate Bill 5 is expanded. Received information today that they're now going to be putting a limit on the amount of fines that you can, the fine that you can charge someone, that you cannot assign community service to someone who's indigent and unable to pay. These things are probably going to be going for a vote by the end of this week. So stand by because obviously there are a lot of issues in Jefferson City that will have major effects on us as municipalities moving forward. So, that's all I had to report. Introduction of future issues. See none? Old business? See no lights? New business? See none? And we were scheduled to have a closed session tonight, which has been canceled. So, I'm sorry?
Correct.
Yes. I need a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. Thank you.